Hi there, welcome to Secrets Other Guitar Teachers Don't Tell You. I'm Gail Lees with GuitarWithGail.com. And this week is Music Bite 2, Learning How to Build Chords. Alright, so we've already learned that there's a formula for major scales. But what do we do with these notes now? In addition to using the scales to play melodies, we can also use them to create chords to accompany us on the guitar. The numbers at the top of each note will help us build our chords. Common chords used in playing the guitar include major and minor chords, along with some other chords. Major chords have a happy sound, while minor chords might sound a bit sad. We'll look at some examples in a few minutes. So let's get started. So, where do these chords come from? If you guessed another formula, you guessed right. Let's go back to C major one more time and see what kind of formulas we can use to build some chords. The formula for a major chord is going to be 1, 3, and 5. So to build a C major chord, we would need to look at the notes in the C major scale. And the notes we would use to build a C major chord would be a C, an E, and a G. To build a G major chord, you would need to look at the G major scale. And we're going to do that in just a minute, but first I want you to hear what a C major chord sounds like. Okay, so when you put those notes, the C, the E, and the G together, there's your nice C major chord. All right, let's take a look at that G that we talked about a moment ago. So, since the formula is 1, 3, 5, to build a G major chord, the notes we would need would be G, B, and D. And it's going to sound like this. And that's because we've got a G, a B, and a D note. And there you go. And so you get that lovely major scale, major chord sound from using the formula 1, 3, 5. Now, let's do a little ear training and notice the difference between a major chord and a minor chord. So here's a major chord. That's a G major chord. If I were to play a G minor chord, it would sound like this. Has a sadder sound. Here's an A major, and here's an A minor. So you can hear the difference. The major chords are bright and happy, and the minor chords are more melancholy and sad. So it's time to take a look at some minor chords. Yes, there's a formula for them too. The formula for minor chords is 1, flat 3, and 5. So a G minor chord would be made up of a G, a B flat, and a D. So we would have to flat that B. And if you'll remember, we talked about flatting notes, that's lowering it by half a step. We discussed that when we were talking about building our major scales. So again, when you do that, you get that melancholy sound. Let's look at a scale for the key of A, and then we'll build a major and a minor chord. So the notes for the A major chord would be A, C sharp, and E. So to build the A major chord, that's what you'd use, and it would sound like this. But if we want to make the minor chord, then we have to flat that C sharp. That means we would lower it down half a step, which would make it just a regular natural C. And then it would sound like this. So it's really simple once you know the formulas. All right, let's do the same exercise for the key of E. An E major chord would consist of an E, a G sharp, and a B. But an E minor chord would have an E, a G natural, we would lower it half a step to the G, and the B. So I'm sure that by now the light bulb has come on for you, right? You can try your hand at it. See if you can figure out what notes to combine to play a D major and a D minor chord. All on your own this time, I'm not going to tell you. Okay, that's it for this music bite. And the next one coming up is going to be understanding chord families on the next install. Now keep in mind that there's still more formulas to build different kinds of notes. Today we looked at major and minor chords, but there are also dominant seventh chords, major seven chords, augmented chords, diminished chords, and yes, they all have a formula, and I do teach that in my lessons. So when you're ready, give me a call at 240-415-8572 or contact me through my website, www.guitarwithgail.com. Thanks for sharing this music bite with me.